Hey team, I have been working through this challenge, the expenses chart component. And this one is really interesting. I think I actually have it right where I want it to be. It's got some nice hover states for current date. It's got the values in there. Everything's looking really good. And it has some built-in accessibility, especially for this chart. I've seen a lot of people try to do these charts and they will use divs inside of divs inside of divs that are kind of sized and then filled in with a background color. But HTML actually gives us the perfect tag to make this happen. It is called meter. And what that meter will do is it will size this block for us automatically. We will have to do some stuff around styling, but the sizing, the math that goes into that specific part is automatic. We will have to do some math around this part, but the meter itself is, it just works, which is awesome. So today I want to explore just this, this part of the component. And what I've done is I've reset things back to here, and that way we can start to get in on this. Okay, I'm going to replace to do with those meters. Over to the code right here. I have that to do. In fact, I have a big long comment as well. I'm going to get rid of it. I do want a wrapper to hold all of the meters so that I can position them later on, get them side by side with each other. So right here, I'm going to call it meters, plural. That's going to be a div. And then inside of here, I want 7 of these because there's 7 days, right? 7 days in the week. And each one is going to have both the meter and the text associated with that meter. So I'm also going to put that in its own div. Now the text is in a label, and this is one of the really cool features about using meter is that you can attach a label to every meter. So this is going to be Monday. I'm going to do a capital M Monday because Monday is a proper name, right? So let's do that, right? And then right above it, I'm going to put that meter tag, okay? You'll notice that it gives us the value. Now the value comes from this data.json file. If I was more ambitious, I would actually use maybe some JavaScript to fetch this. I'm not too impressed that they just give the days and they didn't add like the monthly or the balance, right? They should have all that data in this file. But for today, I want to focus on the meter. So I'm just going to copy and paste stuff out of here, okay? Monday was 17.45. So I'm going to do that right here and right here with a dollar symbol, boom. I'm also going to put it right behind the Monday, and I'll explain why in a second. That's going to go in a span, so dollar symbol, paste that in again. And the last bit that we need is right here. Actually, we need 2 bits, sorry. We need an ID equal to Monday. And that way it links these 2 things together, right? The 4 and the ID. And then we need a max, okay? And the max is how it knows how much to fill. Now, by default, I think max is 100, right? So this would be 17% of 100. But I want something just a little bit different. And what I want is I want the largest number in this data to be our high water mark. And that right there is Wednesday, okay, at 52.36. So copy that in, paste it, and good, okay? If I save this and come back, we can see stuff already taking shape, okay? So we have that little meter. It shows up with some default styles based on the browser, looking really good. If we jump over to Safari, we have this style meter. If we jump over to Firefox, we have a slightly different style meter, right? Everyone has just slightly different styles in here. But the cool thing is that the green is filling a little bit, and there's the rest of it. And then we have a helpful label with some information. Now, what about, if we go back here, what about this 1745 that's in between the 2 meter tags, the opening and closing meter tags? Well, technically, it just gets blasted into the void. right? We don't use it at all. You could actually ignore it, but I don't recommend that. Just in case you get someone using that ridiculously old browser, okay? A browser that does not support the meter tag. In that case, this meter tag will kind of represent itself the same way a span would, at which point you would get 1745, okay? So a little bit of extra content there, but I feel like it's worth it just for safety, right? And good practice. So here we are. We have the whole block, okay? You don't want to watch me do this another 6 times. So I'm going to cheat and jump ahead, which means that right after this meter, I can go and paste in 6 more, okay? And they are all the same. So this meter here, exactly the same as this meter, except that it has Tuesday and some different values, right? Wednesday, different values, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all is good. We go and look at Chrome, because that's the one that we're mostly working in, and all those values are starting to take shape. This dollar value we put in here because this is going to become our pop-up, our little tooltip thing, okay? But I feel like having it inside the label for accessibility purposes, that kind of makes sense to me. So that's why I do it, okay? This, I mean, if no styles came through, this would be really acceptable. But we are here to learn how to style this, so let's get that done. Back to the styles. And right at the bottom of my file, I should put it up, probably underneath the HR, but just to keep things simple, I'm going to add meter. And notice there is no dot in front of this. I'm targeting that tag specifically, okay? So we are going to do some stuff here. We are going to get a width and a height. Do that proper. And there is a border radius, just like this, and a background. Now, you'll notice that I use background and not background color. And that's because later on, or even right now, the background is actually created using linear gradients. So because of that, we need to get rid of the background image and use our custom color. By using the shorthand background, we do exactly that. We're going to replace this black with our custom color, and at the same time, it's going to remove any of those custom linear gradients, okay? You'll notice I didn't fill this in because I want to use some variables. We're going to use these variables in a few different places. So right here, I'm going to set it up. So it's 2 dashes underscore meter radius, okay? And then inside of the variable, dash dash meter dash radius, and set it to a healthy default of 5 pixels, okay? Which is good. We're going to do this several more times, so I'm just going to duplicate that and replace the piece that needs to be done. So this is width. Width is going to be 100%. Come on, 100%. This one is going to be height, like this. That's going to be 40%. The next one is background, okay? Just like this. Background is going to be transparent, actually. But just so that we can see the magic happen, I'm going to set it to silver, okay? The next one after that is the optimum color. So optimum dash color. And we're going to set that to a custom variable, which is primary, okay? If you caught a quick glance of that, you might have seen the hover state as well. We will do that right now, okay? So optimum dash color dash hover, and changing this to dash dash primary, primary, there it is, hover, okay? And this way we can use these across our different meter bits, because there are a few. Okay. Let's do that quick. So this one is going to be dash dash width. Where is it here? Meter width, the underscore one. This one is going to be dash dash underscore height. This one is going to be dash dash underscore radius. Yes. And the background, dash dash underscore background. Okay. If we go and look, we are going to see things start to take shape. And like I said, meters, once you start customizing them, they kind of jump ahead. So the shine on this that makes it look like a tube or gives it that bubble feeling, right? That is done using linear gradients. So we need to get rid of that. And we do that with the next step, okay? Right here, below it, we're going to add meter again, but this time we're going to do double colon dash WebKit dash meter dash bar, okay? And inside of here, we need two things. We need the border and the background. So go and paste it in. I don't actually know if we need the border radius, border radius, not border, but I like to add it. I find that when I forget to add it to each individual piece, something happens and I don't really like the look of it. So there's a little bit of duplication in here, but it will be worth it. Okay. The background for the bar is not, yes, it can be the background, Then we duplicate that again. This time, instead of WebKit meter bar, we go WebKit meter optimum value. And right here, instead of background, we can go optimum color. Optimum value, optimum color. I probably should have named it that better, but there we go, okay? Now, if we go and look at this, things are kind of taking shape, but this really only works in Chrome and Safari, okay? We want it to work in Mozilla as well, so we need to go one more time, and this one is a bit of a long one. It is meter colon dash MOZ, not X, MOZ dash meter dash optimum, and then colon dash MOZ dash meter dash bar, which is a bit of a mouthful. I spelled it wrong, which is why my highlighting is working, right? That's where a good syntax highlighter can help you, okay? If it's not colored right, you probably have something wrong, okay? Now, this will take care of Firefox. So if we go to Firefox, now things are looking pretty good, okay? Pretty good indeed. You might think right here that because these are the same, you can collapse them. You absolutely cannot, okay? If any one of these rules fails, the entire thing fails. So on WebKit browsers, the moz prefixes will fail, which means the entire rule would be skipped. On Firefox browsers, WebKit will fail and the whole thing will be skipped. So it's better just to leave them as separate pieces, okay? So here is Chrome. We go to Safari. Safari's looking good. Firefox, we saw that. You might notice that these ones, this and Safari, were full size, but if we go to Chrome, it is not, okay? So this is our first hang up with using these. Chrome uses grid, and we can show that by jumping in here, grabbing this, and I already have it turned on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close meter for a second. Then I'm going to go way over here to this cog and open up my settings, scroll down to elements, and turn off show user agent shadow DOM, okay? If I close that, you'll notice that the arrow goes away and I can no longer open this up, okay? I want to be able to see inside of there because there's some special stuff. So if this is your first time, you're probably seeing it like this. And I recommend, again, going back into that cog. I only turned it off to show you, but I leave this on, okay? So elements, show user agent shadow DOM, close the settings down, and now you have this cool little drop down. Inside of there, you have that shadow root and that original number that just gets fired into the void. Okay. Clicking into Shadow DOM, we have this pseudo WebKit meter inner element. We open that up. WebKit meter bar. We've actually seen that before. That is in our code right here. Okay. But the parent, WebKit meter inner element, it says grid right beside it, right? Chrome is trying to be helpful, telling me that this has grid applied. And if we go to the styles, we can see that, yeah, it is display grid. And it says grid template rows, 1FR, 2FR, 1FR, which if you translate that to 100%, that is 25%, 50%, 25%, which is exactly what we have. We have 10 pixels, 20 pixels, 10 pixels for a total of 40 pixels, which is the height that we set, okay? We want this to be, we want the inner part, the bar, to be 40 pixels, 100% height, or later on 100% width, okay? We do that by getting rid of grid, okay? So right here, we go back to the settings. I'm going to copy this, back to my dev tools. I'm going to copy this WebKit meter inner element, just so I don't have to type it. Back over here, somewhere in here, go meter, : paste it in, dash WebKit dash meter dash inner dash element, a mouthful every time I say it, and display block. Now, if you're worried about other browsers, here's the trick. Other browsers are already display block. And what I mean by that is Safari, if you go and inspect this in Safari, it is display block. If you go and inspect it in Firefox, it is display block. So technically you're just setting it to what it already is, okay? But by doing this for Chrome, now Chrome is playing by the same rules. And this is awesome. Like we could add a little bit of vertical space to this and call it a day, right? Because it already looks pretty good. We're already able to do so much with just a little bit of work, okay? And semantically correct, which is awesome. We do want to do more, so let's get rid of silver. Let's change this to transparent, okay? Transparent, which gets rid of that, making it look even better. And we need some hover. So right here, meter hover, and I'm going to set that to -- meter optimum. I probably should have just copy and pasted this from somewhere, but here we are, okay? We have that var, it is -- optimum color hover, okay? And now if we go back, refresh this, we see hover states. Very cool stuff, okay? We aren't quite done though, because we need something else. What we want is these to be vertical, not horizontal, right? So let's go do that right here. We're going to set up an exception. That exception is going to be data -vertical like this. Brilliant. And we set something that feels very weird to me, okay? Writing mode to be sideways, left to right, okay? And that is going to change the game. So if we go back here, it's not going to work because I didn't actually use that. I miss that every time, don't I? So right here, copy it, go and grab all of these meters, just like this, and make them vertical, okay? Brilliant. So back in, refresh it. Now things are changing, okay? We have thin ones, short ones, tall ones, right? Different heights, because now it is 100% width, but the height is what the meter is, okay? We can make that a little bit more obvious by going in here and setting a height. And right here I have -- meter, meter vertical height. So I have gone and set this way up here to be 150, and I got that from the Figma file. Okay, the height of the meters, the total height of the meters, is always going to be 150 pixels. So that's what I've used, and that's what we have down here. Now, by doing that, we can go back and we should see something very different, unless I forgot to save, which I totally did. The dot tells me I need to do that. So save it, come back, refresh, and look at that. We have more height, right? Still some shorter than others. That's what we're looking for. But at this point, if we can get these to sit side by side, we will be in really good shape. Okay? And we're going to do that next. So let's go do that. Right down here, we're going to use meters. This is our class. Okay? It's not a tag anymore. It's the class. So display flex, gap of 15 pixels. Why 15? I made that up. When I was trying it, 15 felt right. If you are actually in the Figma file and trying to take a look at this, the distance on these, 17.91, feels a little bit clumsy to me. I'm not sure how they got that number. The width of these, right? Even the width here, 50.36. I don't know where those numbers came from. It's like they had them set wide and they just squeezed it in. So interesting stuff. I decided to do a little bit of rounding, which means that I rounded the gap down to 15, and I tried to make these around 40 or 50. Okay, that's on me. But for now, we have this. So display flex, the gap, we need some magic on each of the children. That is flex. And what we're going to do is we're going to set it to grow evenly, shrink evenly, and start around 35 pixels. Okay. If we do that, now things are getting very interesting. Okay. It almost looks like it's done, right? We have the hover in there. We can also hover over the labels, so there's some accessibility. It will read it out properly using some accessible technologies, but we need a little bit of spacing. We need some coloring. We need that hover state. Okay, so let's go take care of some of that. In meter, we have been using that flow space, so I'm going to keep doing that, and it is var -- space, and it is the big one, which is 52 pixels to 66 pixels. Again, I got that from the Figma file. Okay, right here I have the font, which is caption, so that's good. Color, no, not color, sorry, but text transform, not uppercase, but lowercase, okay? And center, whoops, do it right, there we go. So text align center, excellent, okay? Go back, refresh it, things are starting to take shape, right? We should probably take care of this this tooltip. So let's go do that. That is right down here, .meter. So we are operating on the container of the meter, and we are going to do stuff in here. First, position relative, okay? Then inside of there, we have those spans, and we are going to do stuff with them. For instance, display none. Now, if we do this, we are not going to be able to see anything, okay? Like, how do we know if it's working? So my advice is don't. Set it to block for just a little bit, okay? And then we can change it back later, okay? So background color is -- tertiary. Where is it here? Right there. Brilliant. Border radius is -- radius 3.5. It kind of changes on the small ones. That's pretty cool. Color -- knockout, which is our, in this case, it's slightly off white. It's not a pure white. Okay. We have font. In this case, the font is bold, right? Which is kind of odd, but it doesn't follow that caption, which feels weird to me, right? But we can keep doing that. Padding, --100 is space 100, absolutely, okay? And if we take a look at this, we're going to see, well, first off, everything grows, but there are our styles, okay? All we need to do is get it out of the natural flow of things. And we do that with position absolute, okay? Position absolute needs a couple things. We're going to place it from the bottom, okay? And the reason for that is because everything starts at the bottom, right? So it makes sense to start from wherever it is and push it up, okay? For now, we're just going to leave that as 0, but left is going to be 50%. Now, this isn't quite going to work because if you've ever tried to center a box using this method, you know you need a transform, okay? That's going to be translate x minus 50%. And now everything is centered. It's not where we need it to be up above here, but it is centered according to each individual box. All we need to do is figure out the height, okay? To do that, we need to go back to the markup. So back into the HTML, and we have this max, okay? We're just going to grab that. There should be 7 of them. And we're going to go right to the end and grab the value as well, okay? Copy, don't cut, copy. From there, we can go up arrow 1 to get to the div with class meter. And then inside of here, we go style equals, paste it in, and now we need to clean it up, okay? So get rid of the quotes, back arrow, quotes. We need to change this to a colon. This is going to be a variable like this. Get rid of this quote. It needs to be a semicolon right here. This is a colon as well. There, okay? So each one has a style with a max and a value. Unfortunately, there's no way to get these values up to the parent, okay? There's just no way to figure out what that value is from the parent without using JavaScript. And I'm trying not to use JavaScript, okay? So by doing this, we can do that. And in fact, if I was actually using a templating language or a library of some kind, I would probably make this its own component and then just feed it that information. And it would generate all this information for me, okay? So that is saved. We can come back to bottom and calc. And now we go var -- value divided by var -- max times var -- what did I call it? It was meter dash vertical height. Okay, I actually forgot for a second. Now, this isn't quite going to work, but we'll be able to see it. Okay, it's close, but it is covering part of the top. And the reason for that is because we're actually starting at the bottom of the word, not the bottom of the box. Okay, so in order to do that, we need to add a little bit. And we do that right on the end. We just go plus 30 pixels, which should push it up, okay? So now each one of these gaps is, in this case, it's 9 pixels. I think in the Figma file, it was 8. If you wanted to make this number 29 instead, I don't fault you, right? You can do that, but that gets it done. And then right here, we can go ampersand hover span, display block that, change the original one back to none. And now look at that, right? Everything is just working. We go to, say, Firefox, everything is working. We go to Safari, everything is working, okay? Everything's looking really, really sharp. So what else do we need? Well, we need a little bit of space here, and we need to color the day. And then we're pretty much done, right? That's really it. So let's go add that space. That is right here. So in that .meter class, let's go and find label, okay? Set that to display block like this, and margin block start of 4 pixels. Just a little extra space, right? Gives it that little extra oomph, okay? For this part, for the current day, we can absolutely do that. So right below this, dot meter data dash current dash day. Excellent. And inside of here, we have all of this, okay? So I can just go and grab one of these. Makes sense to me. Get rid of the underscore, okay? So meter optimum color, we are going to make that right here, get rid of it all, and set it to secondary, okay? Where is my variable? Why isn't it fine? Oh, it's because I did this wrong. Hello, me. So this should be square brackets. Okay. And now, again, I should have been paying attention. Background secondary. And then this one with hover. Set this one to dash hover. Excellent. Okay. We do need to use this, so bring it back to the markup. And on Wednesday, right here, on the div, okay, not on the meter, but on the div, we can add data current day. Okay, save it, go back, maybe even to Chrome where we were, and there we are. If we compare this side by side, you'll see the original lines up with the new, which is perfect. Okay. At least I wish it was, okay? If we bring up the developer tools right here, okay? This resizes. Looks really nice, right? It looks really, really nice. If we are over in Firefox, right? And I switch to developer mode, it resizes. It looks really, really nice, okay? Hello, Safari, breaking my heart. Responsive mode. Look, it's already broken, okay? Thankfully, not too much. I can scroll sideways, right? I should actually refresh that. And you'll notice that when I refresh this, it does line up, okay? But if I make it large and go small again, what is going on, okay? I can refresh it, make it large. Why is it doing that? I don't understand. Now, thankfully, most users are not just constantly resizing their browser, right? Because that would be super annoying. Most just have it set to a size and they fire off the request, they get the page, and it looks fine, okay? If they do happen to resize it, again, no big deal. You can still scroll sideways, get the information. It still kind of works. But the question is, why? Why is this happening? I suspect that it is something to do with the fact that we have flex on the meters div, on the parent div, okay? We have flex. And in fact, I tried this with CSS Grid too, and it still failed. So something about this, flipping this on its side, the way that we have, mixed with flex, trying to calculate these, the width of these, Safari isn't having it, okay? And we can see that right here. If I make this small, I can actually go to, say, meter, or more appropriately, the meter itself, right? And if I click on writing mode and bring it back, it resets. So as soon as it knows what it's doing with writing mode, then it can figure it itself out. But with writing mode, it doesn't really want to have it, right? Or if we do this again, right, we can go to our width right here, just trigger it, and again, it works, okay? So something about this just doesn't want to play nice. It's so frustrating. I've done tons of research. Again, I don't know if it's an issue. If it is, okay, if you are trying to do this in professional work and somebody is giving you just the hardest time of it, there is a workaround. You have to go and look up something called a forced redraw. And what that involves is using a little bit of JavaScript so that every time you resize the browser, it triggers this width or triggers this write mode. Okay. So there are ways around it. I'm not going to do that because that's extra stuff that I don't need. Okay. I don't really mind the fact that it does this, especially when a refresh will fix it. Okay. But again, if your project does, there are workarounds for it. Okay. That is the most annoying part. The rest of the things that I want to talk about today before we wrap this up are things specific to Frontend Mentor. And what I mean by that is going back here. Okay. If we send this to Frontend Mentor right now, it will look like a hot mess. And the reason that it'll look like a hot mess, I think, are because they're using an older version of Chromium or just some slightly older technology to screen capture the page and then compare it. And because it's older, it doesn't support this feature right here in the CSS, where we have writing mode sideways left to right. Okay, sideways left to right is still fairly new. So if your plan is to send this to Frontend Mentor, then you should probably set this to vertical. Okay, that still won't do it. So if we go and look, you'll see that it actually flips around. What we need is to set direction equal to right to left. And by doing that, now it works. And when I tested this with a little bit of assistive technology, right? When I tested this in VoiceOver on my Mac, it still seemed to work. But something to be aware of. Now, if you send this to Frontend Mentor, you will get these vertical columns. What you'll also get is a faint border around each one of these items. Okay. So again, older version of Chromium or something like that, the defaults are kind of playing around. And the way to fix that is to go to this one, WebKit meter bar, and add border 0. Let's do that right. BD 0. There it is. Okay. We are not going to see anything here because it just kind of works, but take my word for it. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out where that line was coming from. It is super, super annoying. Okay. So those are the fixes. If we go back now, everything just works. Where are my dev tools? There we are. Let's turn this off, get rid of this so that we can see it, right? Go to Safari. We don't need this anymore. We can turn off the dev tools here, and we can see that it all just kind of works. So to recap, we do not need special divs for this. We do not need to do special complex math to get the right size div so that we can color it. We have tools that will do that for us. That tool today is called Meter. There's also another one called Progress. They have different intended uses. So even though they look kind of the same, be aware. For this sort of stuff, you want Meter. Okay. We were able to get it to go vertical in all of these browsers. I'm assuming that it will also work in modern versions of Edge too, since Edge and Chrome are pretty much in lockstep at this point. We have the hover, we have lots of different stuff going on, and it is responsive. And of course, because we're using those tokens, we didn't really talk about that. It's also themable, but that's for another day. Which brings us to the end, right? What did you find interesting about this? Is this your first time seeing that meter tag? Does it scare you? Do you hate it? Do you like it? Would you do it this way, or would you do it a completely different way? I want to hear it. Let me know in the comments. And yeah, as always, if you haven't already, Please like, subscribe, do all that cool stuff. And I will see you in the next one.